Henri Betti, born Ange Betti, was a French composer and a pianist, and composer of Maurice Chevalier from 1940 to 1945. Henri Betti is best known for composing the music of C'est-Si-Bon in 1947 and of Maître Pierre in 1949. Biography. Henri Betti was born at 1 Rue Barillery in the district of Vieux-Nice in a modest family. His father was a house painter and his mother was a fishmonger. His paternal family originates from the region of Emilia-Romagna in Italy. His grandfather was born in Parma and he immigrated to Nice with his wife and children in the late 1890s. In 1935, he entered at the Conservatoire de Paris, which is then directed by Henri Betti, where he studied music in the same class as Paul Bonneau, Henri Dutilleux and Louis Guy. He is the student of Lazare Elia Cute for piano class and Raymond Pesch for harmony class. He won a prize of harmony in 1937. He then headed for a classical pianist, but in 1940, when he has been discharged from military service of fortified sector of the Dauphiné in Briançon, he crosses the Corsican composer Roger Lucchesi on the Promenade des Anglais, who told him that he composed a song for Maurice Chevalier and asked him to accompany him to the piano when he present him in his property La Luque in Cannes. Maurice Chevalier refused the song but to ask Henri Betti be his regular accompanist. During the singing tours, he will make him play the ballad No. 1 in G minor, opus 23 by Frédéric Chopin between songs. Anxious to renew his repertoire, he also asked him to compose songs. Henri Betti then wrote music 40 songs with the lyricist Maurice Vander until 1945, the Notre Espoir and La Chanson du Macon in 1941, a La Fête Noi in 1943. Of the 15 Securities singing tour of Maurice Chevalier in 1945, Henri Betti signed 14. In 1945, he conducted an orchestra to accompany Maurice Chevalier singing 4 songs in 278 tours. He joined the SACEM in 1941 as composer and was appointed Sociétaire Définitif in 1949. After World War II, he knows great success with Le Régiment des Mandolins in 1946 for Lily Fayol, mais QUESDCEKJAI. In 1947 and Rien dans les Mains, Rien dans les Poches in 1948 for Yves Montand, Maître Pierre in 1949 for Georges Guitry and especially the song C'est-Si-Bon in 1947 for Jean Marco with Jacques Elian and his orchestra. Published by Paul Boucher, it is sung for the first time before an audience by Suzy Delaire at the Nice Jazz Festival February 25, 1948 and recorded by Yves Montand before becoming a standard international jazz with Louis Armstrong, who recorded for the first time in New York in 1950 in the English version of Jerry Seelan. From 1949 to 1984, his music production is abundant. Reviews for Le Lido, the Moulin Rouge, the Folies Bergère, the Olympia of the Tropicana Las Vegas, and many operettas and musical performances. He has also composed for the cinema in the 1950s and television in the 1960s. His most famous soundtrack is that of Honoré de Marseille, which will nearly 4 million admissions in France in 1957. In this movie, Fernandel sings 3 songs composed by Henri Betti and the words by Jean Mance. Henri Betti and Jean Mance had written a 4th song for the movie, C'est Noël, sung by Fernandel in a scene that was edited out. The song was later sung by Tino Rossi and Georges Guitry. In 1953, he played the role of the composer and accompanist of the company of Jean Nohain in Soyez les Bienvenus by Pierre Louis, which he also composed the music for the film. In the early 1950s, he made her singing on stage, first as Vedette Américaine featuring at the ABC in 1951 and the Théâtre des Urnes, in Parisian cabarets as Le Bosphore and Chez Tonton, and in summer outdoors in Nice, Cannes, Joan Les Pins shows, and then as a full-featured except to Bobino and Gourmand Palace. His talent manager was Johnny Stark. During his career, Henri Betti worked with André Bertholomew, Paul Bono, Bervel, Jean Boyer, Maurice Chevalier, Bruno Coquatrix, Jean Cosmos, Pierre Coy, Philippe Guérin, Andrea Hornes, Jean Lecellier, Francis Lopez, Jean Mance, Jacques Maroy, Jean Nohain, Edith Piaf, Jacques Pils, Jacques Plant, Laurent Rossi, André Salvé, Pascal Sevran, Robert Thomas, Jean Valmy, Maurice Van Der, Henry Varner, Serge Weber, Raymond Vinci and Albert Willemets. In 1951, he participated with Albert Willemets to the foundation of the Comité du Cœur, relief fund for needy artists under the auspices of the SACEM, which will be vice president. In 1958, he collaborated with Jean-Pierre Landreau to compose all the music reviews of Lido for the company Lido Melodies, whose two founding members are Jacques Gris and Pierre Delvincourt. In 1960, he wrote the music for the song Les Étangs de Salone with the lyrics by Paul Vaillard, which was sung the same year by Jean-Philippe in the TV show Toutes les Chansons. In 1971, he participated with Maurice Lehmann to the foundation of the ANAO, which will be vice president. He was member of Conseil d'Administration of the SACD from 1961 to 1975 and of the SACEM in 1982-1983, from 1985 to 1987 and from 1989 to 1992. In 1988, he was the guest of La Chance aux Chansons presented by Pascal Sevran that pays tribute to Maurice Chevalier for the centenary of his birth. In 1993, he published his autobiography, C'est si bon, published by La Pensée Universelle. In 2003, he entered the nursing home Guillaume in Courbevoie, where he died 2 years later of natural causes. His funeral held at the Église Saint-Pierre de Neuilly-sur-Seine. He is then cremated at the crematorium of Fort Mont-Valérien and buried in the Neuilly-sur-Seine Community Cemetery. In 2006, his son François Betti read the musical engraving and the comments from the songbook Une vie en chansons, which contains 12 songs composed by Henri Betti. The songbook is published by Paul Boucher. Personal life. Henri Betti married July 30, 1949 in Bois Colombes with the tap dancer Françoise Engels. He had met her during performances of the operetta Baraton the same year. His best man were Bruno Coquatrix and Andrea Hornes. The couple had 3 children. Andrea Hornes was the godfather and Paulette Coquatrix was the godmother of his first child. Henri Betti was the brother of the opera singer Frida Betti and the great-grand-uncle of the footballer Alexis Bossetti. Henri Betti has no family relationship with Priscilla Betti. Awards. Henri Betti is made Chevalier of the Ordre des Palmes Académiques in 1960 and received the Prix Maurice Chevalier, awarded by the SACD, in 1980 and the Médaille d'Or by the SACEM in 1994. Works, songs, films, scores. 1952, Une fille sur la route by Jean Stelly. 1953, Saint-Francs par seconde by Jean Boyer. 1953, Le Dernier Robin des Bois by André Bertholomew. 1953, Soyez les bienvenus by Pierre Louis. 1953, Le Portrait d'un Père by André Bertholomew. 1954, Les en coulisses by André Bertholomew. 1954, Les Deux Fonds le Père by André Bertholomew. 1956, Les Joies written by André Berthomeu. 1956, La Joyeuse Prison by André Berthomeu. 1956, Baraton by Jean Stelly. 1956, Honoré de Marseille by Maurice Chevalier. 1957, L'Auberge en Folie by Pierre Chevalier. 1959, Cigarettes, Whiskey, Appetites, P.E. Acute, P.E. Acuties by Maurice Chevalier. 1959, Visa Paula and Fur by Alfred Rode. Television scores 1963, La Voix dans la Verre by Lazare Iglesias. 1963, L'un d'entre by Lazare Iglesias. 1964, Versailles by Lazare Iglesias. 1966, La Chasse au Météor by Lazare Iglesias. 1966, Le Col des Cocottes by Lazare Iglesias. 1966, Comment ne pas épicer un milliardaire by Lazare Iglesias. 1971, La Petite Catherine by Lazare Iglesias. Operettas 1946, 1947, Mamel Printemps at the Tete Monsi, libretto by Georges-Marie Bernanos, lyrics by Maurice Vander. 1949 to 1952, Baraton by Alfred Pasquale at the Europen, libretto by Jean Valmy, lyrics by André Hornes. 1950, 1951, L'École des Femmes Nues by Max Ravel at the Théâtre de l'Étoile, libretto by Serge Weber, lyrics by Jean Boyer. 1953, 1954, Moblet by Jean-Marc Thibault at the Europen, libretto by Serge Weber, lyrics by André Hornes. 1957, 1958, Maria Flora by Maurice Lehmann at the Théâtre du Châtelet, libretto and lyrics by Raymond Vinci. 1969, 1970, Le Marchand de Soleil by Robert Manuel at the Théâtre Mogador, libretto by Robert Thomas, lyrics by Jacques Maroy. Reviews at the Olympia 1959, Paris Mies Amours. At the Lido 1956, C'est Magnifique. 1957, Prestige. 1959, Avec Plaisir. 1961, Pour vous. 1962, Suivez-moi. At the Moulin Rouge 1963, Fro-Fro. 1965, Frisson. 1967, Fascination. 1970, Fantastic. 1973, Festival. 1976, Follement. 1979, Frenzy. 1983, Femmes. At the Folies Burgers 1958, Folies Ledges. 1961, Folies Cherries. 1964, Folies Enfants. 1968, Et Vive la Folie. 1972, J. Émile La Folie. 1977, Folie Je t'adore. 1982, Folies de Paris. Theatre 1960, Le Mobile by Jean-Pierre Grenier at the Théâtre Fontaine, libretto by Alexandre Rivemel. 1960, Viva, by René Dupuy at the Théâtre Gramont, libretto by Robert Roca. 1961, Uncertain Monsieur Blot by René Dupuy at the Théâtre Gramont, libretto by Robert Roca. 1961, 1962, Les Béthorines by Jean-Pierre Darras at the Théâtre du Vieux Colombier, libretto by Jean Cosmos. Appearances. 1951, Compositeurs et chansons de Paris. 1953, Soyez les bienvenus, and Trois hommes et un piano. 1956 to 36, Chandelles and Lane, Joie de Vivre. 1957, 36 Chansons and Rendezvous avec Maurice Chevalier and Degree 2, 1958 to 36 Chandelles. 1959, Le Joie de Vivre. 1960, Toutes les chansons, Rue de la Gaîté, Au-delà de l'écran and Discorama. 1962, Danse la vie au pas sans faire. 1979, Nous les artistes, Maurice Chevalier. 1985, The Acute Dansant. 1988, Soirée and la chance aux chansons. 1990, Midi 3. 1993, La chance aux chansons. 2001, Les refrains de la mémoire. Bibliography. Henri Betti, Acute Cit autobiographique, Embrasure, Paris, 1993. Henri Betti, Une vie en chansons, Paul Boucher, Paris, 2006.